All right, so today we're talking about an artist who didn't just top the charts, he absolutely shattered them. We're diving into the rise of Eminem.
So how does a bullied kid from Detroit become, like, the biggest rapper on the planet? It's this wild story of struggle, smart strategy, and just sheer lyrical force that completely flipped pop culture on its head. And it all kicks off in the notoriously tough city of Detroit.
See, to really get the whole Eminem phenomenon, you've got to go back to the beginning. You have to meet Marshall Mathers, just a kid from what he himself called a dark, bleak, and gloomy background.
His childhood, man, it was defined by just constant instability, moving all the time between Missouri and Michigan. He was always the new kid, right? Which, as you know, makes you an easy target for bullies. But around age 11, something clicked. He discovered rap. By 14, he's in high school lunchrooms, sharpening his skills with his soon-to-be best friend Proof. Look, school just wasn't his thing, and he failed 9th grade 3 times before finally dropping out. But those underground rap battles in Detroit, that was his real classroom. That's where he found his weapon, a microphone.
And his best friend Proof, he knew exactly what he had. He'd go around hustling these rap battles, and he'd always say, "I got 20 bucks on the white boy." Why? Because nobody ever expected this kid to win. And guess what? He almost always did, just shutting down anyone who stepped to him.
Okay, so you'd think being an unbeatable local battle rapper would be a golden ticket, right? Well, not exactly. His first shot at breaking into the actual music industry, it was a total flop. So back in 1996, he drops his first album, Infinite. And with this one, he was really trying to make this hopeful, radio-friendly kind of music. It was a complete disaster. Critics basically said he sounded like everybody else and needed his own style. The DJs in his own city, Detroit, just ignored it. And sales? He barely sold any copies. I mean, he was broke, he was frustrated, he was right on the edge of just quitting music altogether.
And right there, at that low point, something shifted. He just gave up. Seriously, he stopped trying to be liked. And from all that anger, all that depression, he created this alter ego, Slim Shady, a character whose entire goal was to say the most outrageous, shocking things he could possibly dream up. And the origin story for the name, it kind of says it all. You know, it really speaks to just how raw and unfiltered this character was. And honestly, it was this shocking persona that was finally going to get him noticed. And that brand new, kind of dangerous sound, it started making waves. It traveled all the way from the underground scene in Detroit to the office of the most powerful producer in all of hip-hop.
So get this, it's 1997, he's at the Rap Olympics in LA, and he gets second place. He's crushed, totally deflated, ready to pack it all in. But in this one, Hail Mary moment, he gives his demo tape to an intern at Interscope Records. And that intern, a guy named Dean Geisinger, he actually passes it up the chain to the label's co-founder, Jimmy Iovine. And what does Iovine do? He immediately plays it for the one and only Dr. Dre.
Now, you gotta remember, at this point in time, a lot of people were saying Dr. Dre's own career was in a slump. But he heard this tape, and he staked his entire reputation on this unknown kid from Detroit purely based on raw lyrical skill. Okay, so this number right here, 1.78 million. This represents one of the biggest moments in music history. It's the number of copies his second major album, the Marshall Mathers LP, sold. Not in a year, not in a month, but in its first week alone back in 2000. It just became the fastest-selling rap album ever, period. I mean, look at that jump. The takeover was absolute. The sales went from, respectable to completely record-shattering. He wasn't just a rap star anymore. No way. He was a global phenomenon, on the same level as Michael Jackson or Elvis. It was insane. But as you can imagine, becoming the most famous and the most controversial artist on the entire planet, well, that came with a ton of pressure from literally every single direction. I mean, he was fighting battles on every front. His own mother sued him for defamation. You had protesters picketing his shows calling him homophobic. He was facing felony charges for assault. He was just a lightning rod for controversy. And right when all this public and personal chaos was at its peak, a whole new threat was popping up. One that was about to change the music industry forever. And that threat was Napster. Now, if you were a music fan back then, Napster was a dream come true, right? Every song you could ever want, totally free. But for the music industry, it was their absolute worst nightmare. And Eminem, the biggest star in the world, was their highest value target. This leak cycle became this horrible, predictable pattern for his biggest albums.
First, he'd spend months in the studio meticulously crafting the project. Then, bam, weeks before it's even supposed to come out, an unfinished version just appears on sites like Napster. That leads to pirates making physical bootleg CDs to sell on the street. And that forced the label to just scramble and rush the official release out the door to try and salvage whatever sales they could.
For an artist like Eminem, who really put everything into crafting his albums as a complete experience, these leaks were a creative disaster. I mean, he was forced to rush out new songs, and sometimes, weaker songs, just to replace the material that had been stolen from him.
So you have to ask, right? After reaching the absolute summit, what happens when the architect of chaos starts to lose control of his own creation? All this pressure, the global fame, the non-stop controversy, and this war on piracy, it really marked the end of his first totally dominant run. The guy who built an empire on chaos was starting to lose control of it, and it left the world's biggest star completely burned out, standing at a crossroads. And it left everybody wondering, without all that anger that fueled him, who even was Marshall Mathers?